Well, joining us now in the studio is Adel Abdel Ghafar. You're a fellow and director of the Foreign Policy and Security Programme at the Middle East Council on Global Affairs. Thank you very much for being with us. What do you make of these attempts to shift the language, to try to budge the US away from what has been, at least in the United Nations, very, very staunch support of Israel?
Well, basically, I think the U.S. is trying to change the language from cessation to suspension. Basically, what this indicates that the U.S. continues to provide political cover for Israel at the UN, despite of this ongoing genocide in Gaza. But also, we also have to look at the Secretary, the UN General Assembly as well, where the vote is non-binding, but there's huge support for cessation of hostilities.
Yeah. I mean, the language that was already rewritten for what was supposed to be a vote on Tuesday talked about a suspension of hostilities and urgent step towards a cessation, sort of a more permanent state of ending the fighting. If that is not enough for the US, what does that suggest? I mean, is there emergent division within the United States administration itself, or at least differences of opinion that are making it more difficult for the US to sign up to anything? Yeah,
there could be potential differences between the UN team and, for example, the White House. And also, if you look at the Secretary of Defense's visit as well to Israel, also from his perspective that Israel should really ratchet down this war because the cost is increasing, the US is deployed and overstretched across the region, and now we see these hostilities with the Houthi attacking maritime shipping as well. So there's differences definitely within the US administration on how much time to give to Israel to end this war.
You're talking there about the situation in the Red Sea with these Houthi attacks and this attempt, US-led attempt to try to interdict or try to deter the Houthis from carrying on. Doesn't seem to be much indication of success so far, although obviously very early days. Is it a winnable situation for the international community to try to sort of defend global trade and its ability to pass through this strait?
Well, this risks the further expansion of this conflict across the region. From a Houthi perspective, first of all, they want to support Palestine and stop Israel's enablers and indicate that they can have an impact on global economy. But also, secondary objective is to also part of the negotiation with Saudi Arabia and the truce in Yemen. So they also have an eye on that. And potentially this mission will go ahead, and it's going ahead. But you can actually see that why Saudi Arabia and Egypt and other Arab countries do not want to be part of any coalition that is perceived to protect Israeli shipping, for example. So I think this mission will go ahead, but a lot of people have doubts about the potential durability and its success in the long term.
I mean, more broadly, we have this attempt to sort of shift Israel's main defender at the UN. We have the expanding situation in the Red Sea. All of it is an attempt to pressure Israel to stop the bombing campaign on Gaza. To what extent can any of this, do you think, be successful, given Israel has stated its war aims and for its own constituency, the Israeli government's own constituency, the Israeli people, sort of stopping short of that is going to be very difficult for them?
Yeah, I think really we've had global public opinion really shift. We've had the European position shift, the UK's position, and various other countries. But basically, it's the US now that is enabling Israel's genocide in Gaza. But I think from a US perspective, as we enter the new year and we have the US election, I think there's also political considerations, electoral considerations. Biden's numbers are really affected. So basically, I think the position is to ratchet down tensions and potentially end this war before we get into the US election cycle, which should have an impact on Biden's electability.
And we were also talking with our correspondent Sarah a bit earlier about the attempts to get more captives back from the Israeli perspective, which would mean another, at least temporary cessation to what's going on. Is there any prospect, do you think, of that? I mean, how are Hamas going to react to those efforts, do you think?
Any ceasefire is good because it allows for the return of hostages and prisoners to their families. It allows for the flow of aid. But the last ceasefire basically established some of this, but did not provide a long-term durable solution. So if we stop the conflict for one more week and then go back to the indiscriminate bombing of Gaza, what has this really achieved? Right now, what is needed is more durable and long-term solution to end the whole conflict in Gaza.
All right. Adel Abdel Ghafar, thank you very much for joining us on Al Jazeera.
Thank you.